Hey everyone, there's some news about migration that just came out from the UK government. We're going to dive into the details to see how it impacts migrant and various visa types like the skilled worker visa, health and care worker visa, study dependent visa, and more. So hang tight as we break it all down. As you might know, migration has been a hot topic lately. The last government made moves to reduce both legal and illegal migration to the UK, and now the new government is following suit. Recently, the Office for National Statistics released new data showing the number of people entering the UK, and it's pretty high. The Prime Minister also shared plans to further cut down on migration, which is a big deal. Things are getting serious, and while we're still trying to wrap our heads around the changes, it seems like there's no going back. They're even planning to implement more measures to tighten migration rules. Not everyone is thrilled about the latest numbers, so let's take a closer look. I'll share my screen with you now. According to the latest stats, net migration to the UK reached a record 96,000 in the year ending June 2023, which is way higher than what was initially estimated. The Office for National Statistics had originally put the figure at 740,000 but has now bumped it up by 166,000. Before the previous government rolled out their plans to curb migration, the Office for National Statistics had already released some figures. There was a lot of talk about how net migration was hitting record highs, and it seemed like everyone was buzzing about it. To tackle this, the previous government implemented some measures to reduce migration to the UK. They decided to stop international recruitment for care workers and made changes to skilled worker visas, among other things, all aimed at lowering those numbers. But now, it turns out the figures they shared were off. Instead of the previously reported numbers, it's actually 96,000 and 166,000 more than what was last stated. So, we're looking at nearly 1 million in annual net migration. As of June 2024, the difference between people coming in and those leaving the UK has dropped to 728,000. This new data shows that migration didn't decrease as much as expected, which has left both the Conservative and Labour parties pretty unhappy. The Prime Minister even mentioned they'll need to take further action to address the situation. Initially, they claimed it was 740,000, but now they're saying it was actually 96,000 for the year ending June 2023, and now it's 728,000 for the year ending June 2024. So the decline isn't as significant as they hoped, especially given all the measures taken to reduce migration, which has added 728,000 to the UK population. The total arrivals and net change in the UK population for the year ending June 2024 is quite telling. Can you see how much the numbers have skyrocketed? It's a huge jump compared to previous years, which explains why the government is so concerned. The figures just keep climbing, and even with all the measures they've implemented to bring those numbers down, the changes haven't been significant. The drop in numbers is still pretty minimal, and that's left them feeling pretty frustrated. If we dig deeper, we'll find out what the Prime Minister plans to do about reducing migration to the UK. Both the Conservative and Labour parties are scrambling to address this issue, as they're not pleased with the current numbers. The Labour Party is pointing fingers at the Conservatives, blaming them for keeping the borders too open, while the Conservatives argue that Labour isn't doing enough to tackle this situation. There's a lot of back and forth debate happening in the government right now. Looking at the numbers, it's clear that migration is at an all-time high. So, let's check out what the Prime Minister has to say about this and the strategies they're considering to reduce migration to the UK. This info comes from the official government website, specifically the Prime Minister's speech on migration from November 28, 2024. After the Office of Statistics released the latest figures, it was revealed that nearly 1 million people arrived in Britain in the year ending June 2023, which is 4 times the migration levels from 2019, as we saw in the earlier graph. In summary, he's just highlighting how much the UK has depended on skilled workers from abroad. A lot of folks coming into this country are here to fill gaps in our workforce, instead of just looking overseas for solutions. It's time to focus inward and figure out how to tackle these issues. There have been skill strategies rolled out nationwide, but they've left the economy overly dependent on immigration. Right now, there are 2.8 million people out of work due to long-term sickness, a problem that's been largely ignored. Plus, 1 in 8 young people aren't in jobs, education, or training. These are the challenges that have led to this heavy reliance on foreign workers. To address this, we need to take action and reduce these numbers. For instance, in sectors like engineering, the number of apprenticeships has dropped by almost half over the last decade. While visa numbers have doubled, we're taking a new approach and will soon release a white paper outlining a plan to cut down on immigration. Despite all the strategies and measures from previous governments that this one is sticking with, they're still committed to rolling out more plans to reduce migration to the UK. the Migration Advisory Committee is already reviewing the situation, and where we see sectors that depend too much on immigration will reform the points-based system. This means that applications for skilled worker visas or those on the shortage occupation list will now come with new expectations for training people right here in the UK. This has been a key focus since they took office. They've been discussing how to focus on training people locally first instead of relying on overseas workers. The idea is to prioritize developing skills within the country before looking abroad for recruitment. The goal is to see how many people in the UK can fill these roles without depending on international applications. There's a push for new training initiatives here, and they're also planning to crack down on any misuse of visa routes. For too long, there's been a lax attitude towards issues in the labor market, which has made it seem like the UK is an easy target for exploitation. That's changing now. Any employers who don't comply will be barred from hiring foreign workers. Additionally, there's a new security agreement between Iraq and the UK aimed at tackling human trafficking and protecting our citizens. As for dependent visas, it looks like there won't be any changes in that area. Many are still waiting to see if the government will allow care workers and senior care workers to bring dependents to the UK, but the current stance is that they have no plans to alter that. Instead, we should expect more regulations aimed at reducing migration to the UK. It's a good idea to stay tuned in the coming weeks and months for updates on their plans to further limit migration. The government seems to be reacting to the recent numbers, and even the opposition leader echoed similar sentiments in her speech. She mentioned that everyone seems really determined to push for migration to the UK because a lot of folks weren't thrilled with her comments on the topic. But honestly, at this point, it's out there, and she's made her stance clear. It highlights that both the ruling party and the opposition are pretty unhappy with the recent statistics released by the National Office. Migration has become a hot topic in UK politics, and it's a big deal for them. That's why there's so much chatter about it, with everyone proposing new plans to reduce migration.
The Prime Minister shared his thoughts on the situation, addressing issues like illegal migrants arriving by boat and discussing legal migration too. He mentioned reviewing the points-based system and the work of the Migration Advisory Committee to see where they can make changes. It feels like there's a lot of uncertainty about what's next, but we'll have to wait and see how things unfold in the coming weeks and months. He also pointed out that they're dealing with challenges inherited from the Home Office, emphasizing that securing borders is crucial for working people. People want reasonable things from politics: order, security, controlled borders, a reliable NHS, and an economy that provides good job opportunities for everyone, not just a select few. Alright, here's a different take on that text. I want to be upfront with everyone watching. It's not going to be a walk in the park or a quick fix, but we're committed to making real changes. We're not relying on flashy tricks. We're putting in the hard work. Our government won't stop until we've strengthened the foundations, secured the basics, and rebuilt Britain. Thanks for tuning in. This was shared on November 28, 2024, and it really highlights the current situation. Just wanted to let you all know that the latest numbers show a lot of dissatisfaction. I really hope whatever plans they have won't be too overwhelming for us, and will actually benefit the people. Fingers crossed. We'll just have to wait and see what they're cooking up. Once I get more info, I'll definitely keep you posted. So, that's a wrap for today's video. I'd love to hear your thoughts in the comments. Thanks for watching, and I'll catch you in the next one. Bye.